Welcome to the Thrive Show, where we offer you practical advice that can be implemented into your daily spiritual lives to help you build a thriving home and a thriving sphere. Thanks for joining us.
Hi everybody, thank you so much for joining us today on another episode of the Thrive Show here at First Church of Christ. I'm Amber Shoemaker and I'm the children's pastor, and today we're going to be talking about devotions, and I have Louann Shively here as my guest. And Louann, why don't you just go ahead and just give us a little introduction of you?
Hi, I'm Louann Shively. My husband and I and my daughter Clarissa, we've been attending church at First Church of Christ since the spring of 2019 after moving back to the area. I grew up in First Church of Christ, so there's a lot of people here that I know, so this kind of feels like home, so that's kind of why we ended up here, and I'm excited to talk about devotionals with Amber and to share some of the stuff from previous churches that I attended and women's groups that I've been involved in and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've loved getting to know you, Louann, over these past few months. We have been having coffee, just talking on Facebook, just so I've really enjoyed getting to know you. And we've had a conversation already about a type of devotion. So as soon as this topic came up, I was like, I know the girl I need to contact. So Louann, I would like to start off by talking about maybe some women's Bible studies that maybe you've been involved in, maybe some that you like, devotionals, if you have some you like to do on your own, maybe a nice group one you've been a part of at some time.
So, some of them that I've really enjoyed, I like the Unglued book, and I've really enjoyed The Lies Women Believe and the Truth That Sets Them Free. That was one of the first book studies I did as an adult, where I got together with another group of women and we read through it and we talked about the lies we told ourselves or the lies we heard growing up, or the messages we got from media or whatever, and what God's truth said behind it. And so that was really powerful to me. And I've done that book study now twice, probably about a 6 to 10 year span in between doing it the first time and the second time. First time was a small collaborative group, and the second time was in a big women's ministry event, and it lasted over the course of a month. And wow. There was other parts to it where we were challenged physically and mentally, and to grow in stature and with our walk with God, and our walk to be more Christ-like and to be who He created us to be. So those are two that I've found pretty powerful. A third one that I've done in one of those larger women's studies was called The Bondage Breaker. And that was a really good one too, because it talks about spiritual warfare and the stuff that goes on around us that we're not even aware that we're letting ourselves absorb and bring into our environment. So those are some of the women's studies that I've done. And I've enjoyed the small group studies where you get together in somebody's kitchen and you're doing a book study with 15 women around their kitchen table, and you're reading the Bible and you're reading the book and you're partnering together. And I've also been parts of the big collaborative, where every woman in the church does the study together, and we're in teams and we're cheering each other on.
That's awesome.
So,
have you seen, when you do these women's devotions, have you noticed how they help you thrive more? Mm-hmm. Maybe, is there anything specific that kind of pops out and you're like, this was just something that really just made me want to thrive more and dig deeper into God, or anything like that? So
when I've done the big collaborative, the whole church things, those actually have been some of the motivations in my life to make life changes.
Awesome.
So in 2012, 2013, I was really motivated to get healthy, not just spiritually, but physically also. And at that time, in 2013, lost 60 pounds, and wow. I attribute it to my walk with God and awesome. Being dug into the Bible. And after that, I was attending prayer encounter every week, which was a Wednesday night hour spent in prayer, corporate prayer with church. And that was pretty powerful. And out of that time, for 6 years, my husband and I had been trying to get pregnant, and we weren't able to. And out of that time, at the end of it, that's when we conceived my daughter. That's and so awesome. It's pretty cool to see the correlation with getting deeper with God and our relationship there, and then what God was able to do in our lives. And like every day I'm reminded of what God was able to do because I see my daughter walking around, and I'm like, that's what God can do when I'm plugged into who he wants me to be.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. I enjoy hearing that story. I'm so happy for you. That's great, Louann. That's seriously, it's really beautiful. Speaking of Clarissa, I have gotten to know Clarissa a little bit through our Bible studies, and she is a hoot, let me just say. So, but speaking of Clarissa, what are some family devotions that maybe you've gotten into that you've enjoyed, or maybe some that you're looking into?
One of my favorite things to do with her is to read her adventure Bible. She has with the little stories in it. She got that when we dedicated her at church back in 2015, and we've read through that several times, and it tells the story of how there's a hero coming to save everyone. And you know, it's a good way for her to start her faith journey and to walk through that. As she gets older, you know, we read the Bible together, and we've done the foundations books, and we've worked through some of that stuff. She is honestly at times the leader of it at home. Like, she will push us to get it out. Like, on the days where we don't feel like doing it, she'll be like, oh, hey, remember that thing that we're supposed to do as a family? And she'll go get our books out. And
awesome.
So she is the push behind it sometimes, and that's just her spirit, and that's who she is. So.
Oh, it's so awesome to hear God can speak through children like that, you know, and to know that kids can keep us and hold us accountable for those type of things. That just goes to show how innocent they are and how they can truly hear God's spirit in that time. That's awesome. I loved how you mentioned the Foundations devotional. That's one of my favorites that I've done with my kids. I really enjoy that devotional, so I know that one very well. Now, this is one I'm really excited to talk to you about. You already know this. We've already kind of had a small conversation about this. I feel like this is something great for men. There's always all these women's devotions. Women's are always having these groups. There's tons of stuff for kids. But it almost seems like when it comes to men, there's not like a whole lot, or maybe men just kind of don't do those things. But when we were talking about what you had in Goshen, I thought that was just amazing and such a great thing. And I loved how Adam talked about it, and he said really great things. So I would love for you to go in a little bit more of the men's devotional.
So when we were in Goshen, our pastor there, he would do these studies on where we'd spend a set amount of time talking about how men are different than women, or how women are different than men, and focusing on the differences and what men's role really is. And then out of that came a group he calls Fight Club, and he started it to reach men, because our pastor there would say, if you get the man, you get the man, you get the family, you get the family, you get the community, you get the world.
That's awesome.
And so Fight Club was a 10 to 12 week journey that men went on, where they give up alcohol, they give up pornography. They spend time during that time with other men in community, pushing each other physically, spiritually, mentally. They're growing in all of those areas. And out of that ministry, my husband grew to be a leader of our family in a way that he hadn't been before. And so the challenges, the things, and like the number one rule about Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club. So like they have different assignments, and they're not supposed to talk about it. So like they'd have assignments where they're giving stuff away. They'd have assignments for a week where their wives were put first, or their significant other was put first. And so they'd have assignments like, oh, hey, make your wife dinner tonight, or, you know, do something to show your wife that you love her. Like, I have a heart that Adam carved till death do us part, from that journey that he was going on, one of those events. And it just really pushed him out of his comfort zone. He made deeper relationships with men in the church that really are brothers, that still to this day, even though we're 2 hours away, will call and check on him and see how he's doing. And, you know, when they come into, like, one of them popped into town a couple weeks ago and was insistent that we meet him for dinner. So, like, those relationships have been built and forged in fire, because iron sharpens iron. And so when they're growing together, they grew together. And Adam was getting healthier, and I was getting healthier and our family was growing because of the walk that he was creating and being able to lead our family in a spiritual way that he hadn't been before.
That is so awesome. I just loved hearing about Fight Club. I thought that was just a great thing for men, especially. Like I said, it always seems like there's a lot of things for women out there. Women seem to always be getting together. And then, of course, you always have things for kids' devotionals. And to hear something like that for men and to hear how Adam grew through that was just a beautiful story when we had talked about it earlier. So I appreciate you sharing that with me for sure. And if you guys have any questions about any of the devotionals that we've talked about, you can feel free to reach out and talk to us. The Foundations devotional that we talked about for the children, we have some here at FCC. If you're a member and you would like one for your kids, reach out to me. You can email me at amber@fccfamily.com, and I will definitely get a devotional. And if anybody's interested in, maybe talking more about how you can get started in a devotional or a Bible study, reach out to me. I would love to talk to you some more about that. Or even if Louann, if you're willing, maybe we can get with some people and we can talk to them as well, some more devotionals. But that's all I have, and I really appreciate you guys for joining us here on the Thrive Show, and I hope you guys join us again next week.